Here we go, y'all, with another Bertrand Math. Here we're going to do some slope review. So get that notebook ready. We got some equations to go over. Oh my goodness. Okay, welcome back. So listen, today we're going to do a review on slope. So you've been talking about a lot of slope. We did a lot of slope in 7th grade. So we're going to be doing some more here. And kind of just to jump into it, it is to review us because we've been talking about functions, but it's important that we still know how to identify slopes because in order to really understand how functions are moving, how things are progressing, we should really take a look at our slopes. Now, with that being said, you should have somewhere in your notebook all of these equations. We use all of these equations. So in today's video lesson, I'm just going through on how, when I'm giving you certain information, how to find the slope, how to write the equation of a line, and that's what we're going to be practicing. Just a couple, not a couple, just a few examples on how to do that and how to write something, take some information that I give you, put it into one of these forms, and then put it into a function notation. So these should be somewhere in your notebook. People, if you don't have them, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. So I'm purposefully pausing and saying, write this stuff in there because you're going to want this. You're going to want this. Okay? Because I'm about to erase it in a second. Okay. So using those forms, you have those near you somewhere, right? You have all of that near you somewhere. And let's say, for example, number 1, I give you something like this. We just talked about this in our last video lesson. And I could say, okay, given this equation of a line, please write this in function notation. Well, if you're writing this in function notation, you should have written all done. All done. Yep. That's what I'm going for there. But what if there's a case where, right, I give you, here's your slope. I give you a slope of m equals 2. And then I give you a point. You're like, well, how do I begin to figure this out? Your attention should be drawn, since I gave you a slope and since I gave you a point, you should want to use your point slope form. I'm going to write the whole thing out here, friends, just for teaching purposes, so go along with me. Here's your point slope form. Excuse me. I'm going to start substituting some things in, right? I always like to substitute the second ones, right? You're only going to replace one of these ordered pairs. So I always like to replace the second one in the equation. That's just my style. You don't have to do that, right? You could replace the x and y here, or excuse me, the y and the x here. Although you got to do a little different math towards the end. But I'm going to replace these last two. So I have y minus 18 equal to 1/2 x minus 4. I'm going to do some distributive property here. Y minus 18 equals 1/2 x minus 2. Going to go ahead and add that 18 on both sides. Start myself up here. Y is going to equal 1/2 x plus 16. And here I have my slope intercept form, my y equals mx plus b form. And if I were to write this in function notation, got it. Oops. There's our answer. Okay. The most complicated I'm sorry, that was example number 2, because example number 1 is like, I'll just give you the graph. Example number 2, and then we're gonna call it. That was example number 2. Let's do example number 3. Now, example number 3 is probably the most complicated I can make, deriving this function, if you will. Sorry for the noise, friends. All right, so let me give you 2 ordered pairs. So now I've just given you 2 ordered pairs, and I would ask you again, write an equation of a line in function notation. First thing we got to do, since we have the ordered pairs, but we don't have, there's no y-intercept, and there's no, there's no slope. So let's get to it. For teaching purposes, I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. Going back to that slope equation that you should have, y1 minus y2. I'm writing it all out, friends. Again, for teaching purposes, you might want to just jump straight into the math here, setting it up. I'm totally fine with that. Watch your negative signs, friends. So I'm going to have a 2 minus a negative 10 over 1 minus a negative 3. That's going to give me a 12 over 4, and that makes my slope 3. I'm going to use this point because I'm going to put this all into my point slope form. Let's use a different color there, right? Y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. Replacing, right, I'm going to use this one because you don't use both points. You don't use both points. You pick and choose which one you want. I'm going to pick 1 and 2. If you pick negative 3 and negative 10, you'll get it right as well. You'll just have a very slightly different set of some math to do, but we should all arrive at the same answer. So y equals 2, 3 times x minus 1. I'm going to write that up here. And then there we go. We got to put that in the function notation. Can't forget that. Function notation would be you got it. There you go. All right. So we're going to pause it right there. This is what I wanted to review in slope, right? Changing y over changing x. Remembering how to derive the slope when you're given just 2 points. Remembering how to find an equation of a line when you're given a slope and a point, right? You're going to want to get super familiar with all of these equations, all right? So give homework 9 a shot and check in with me in case you need some help. That'll be all for today. Have a good one.